What's up, guys, and welcome back for another EVE Online video, another episode for the solo Null-Sec series. Now, in the first episode, I talked a little about kind of my overall strategy and my overall goal, and then we touched a little bit on the PI and kind of how that kind of fits into everything. In this episode, I'm going to do a little bit more of a breakdown about the different activities and kind of what those activities help with fueling. So we're going to go and get started into it. I'm going to bring up my notepad, and this will probably look familiar. This is kind of what we went over in episode 1, but we're going to kind of get more in depth with it. Now, of course, my Null-Sec tune exists inside of like the entire infrastructure of the guys that are operating in HiSec, the guys that are operating in Postman. So it's kind of just like one piece of the puzzle. This series definitely focuses on how the day-to-day life in Null-Sec kind of works, but I want to kind of give you guys an idea of each different type of activity and what it fuels. So I think the first thing we're going to do and talk about is going to be exploration. So that's going to be your data sites here. Now, the data sites are going to directly fuel invention, and that helps with, like, if you're trying to like research Tech 2 blueprints, you're going to get all your all the decoders and all that crazy stuff from all that. Plus, as far as export, the value of this data sites isn't that great, but really a lot of the stuff I'm stacking in the data sites I end up using for invention. And then you have your relic sites. This would fuel rig manufacturing, but it's also really good export and very light export, because those blue rig, the blue salvage for that stuff is really worth it. So a lot of my income actually comes in from relic sites if I don't use them directly for rig manufacturing. The only time I ever really do rig manufacturing is if I'm doing something like venture sinos, where I need the cargo optimization and stuff like that. Otherwise, relic sites are pretty much a straight export as it is. Now, mining for me right now, I basically do Mercoxis. Mercoxis is just basically an export, unless I'm doing Tech 2 manufacturing that requires Morphite. The Morphite is a really great export because it's light, and it's just the value is just, the Isperium 3 is just absolutely amazing. So that's another one of my major exports there. Now, PI is a little bit different. PI can kind of change based on whatever I'm currently working on. PI can either be just a direct fuel for fuel blocks, making fuel blocks for reactions. So really it's going to be basically going into manufacturing, whether it be or reactions. Now, as far as like export, I really don't export PI, but I will sell a local. So a local sell for things like mechanical parts and things that can kind of go into, if somebody else is making fuel blocks, they tend to sell really well. I'd say it's like a medium kind of income, and it kind of changes for me a lot as well. Now, let's talk about ratting. Ratting is like one thing I really love doing, more so than any like other activity, because it's what I like to call direct to wallet income. After we get that bounty, which just goes straight to wallet, no income needed. We can also take the loot that we get, and with using scrap metal processing, I can melt it down into materials, and it can be also used for manufacturing. And most of the time I'm using it for ventures. So if I'm actually really jumping things around with array, jump freighter, or whatever the case may be, I can keep myself in venture sinos if I need to. And that's just like regular probe scanner kind of sites. Now, DED rated sites, those are going to be mainly just export because of the overseer caches. You do those, you're just going to stack that stuff. You're going to ship those overseers packages, those modules that you get, and all that Morphite and all of that stuff from relic sites for a really good payout. Once it gets to JITA, that's the name of the game there. You have to look for them a little bit, but the thing is like with Null-Sec living as a solo player, you need to diversify your activities across many different many different areas. That allows you to log in, and depending on like the situation, you still are able to actually be successful and have a good day and earn a bunch of bits that day. If you were strictly just a miner, then and you're mining just morphite, or you're mining just mercoxis, there might not be any mercoxis rocks, so you wouldn't have a whole lot to do there. And also, just like going into more mining as well, morphite or merc is the main thing, but let's talk about moon mining. Moon mining is going to directly affect reactions. So you're stacking that moon goo for doing reactions. Any anom mining is essentially just going to go into either going to go into export, or it's going to go into manufacturing, depending on what you're doing. So there's still very good reasons to do different types of mining in Null-Sec as a solo player, but majority of the time, if you're doing manufacturing and you're doing reactions, moon mining and mercoxis, that's going to be the best thing for you to do. I try to stay away from anom mining because that stuff is just not wholly worth it for kind of a good pipeline of income, going from like just raw all the way to a finished product and getting it out there. Now, I don't end up doing like all these different activities every single day. Sometimes I will if I kind of feel the bug and I want to like get out there and make quite a bit of income. But some days I'll get in, I'll do some like data relic sites. Other days I'll just kind of get in and just do a bunch of unrated sites and just take the Tengu out. Just do a bunch of ratting. I feel like just going straight ISK to wallet kind of thing. And then some days I just don't want to do undock at all, and I'll just mess with my PI and kind of stack that stuff in order to do buybacks for a local, or eventually export through to JITA and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that like this series is going to kind of showcase a lot of like what this is in practice. The next few episodes I'll be going kind of through each one of these things, showing you kind of what that entails, what that looks like. When we start actually getting a lot of stuff kind of stockpiled, whether it be like just raw materials or whatever, we'll start showing reactions. I might actually set up to do fuel blocks so we can actually do that kind of stuff. That's another thing, ice mining. I want to actually talk about too. Ice mining directly affects fuel blocks. Well, it goes into helping make fuel blocks, and then also cyno fuel, but it also goes into reactions. So, and then that also is manufacturing. So if you're doing manufacturing, if you're doing fuel blocks, you want to do reactions, you're gonna have to basically reactions. You're gonna have to do moon mining, ice mining, and then some PI, because you're gonna have to be like fuel blocks and all that stuff going on. So, like I said, in future episodes in this series, I'm going to go through each one of these activities so you can see exactly what that looks like and, get a good idea of how it all works. So, thank you for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.